Hello folks, old Buster coming to you again. This is the last of the marathon that I'm reading these stories that was recorded. And I just want to tell you, name of this story is Punkin Unkin. Now me and Lulu got some good friends. Steve and Sandra June. And her folks was named Unkin. And that's how we got the idea of this story. Punkin Unkin. I might as well say hello and Merry Christmas to them anyhow. They had come to visit us, and that's where I got this idea for this story. Punkin Unkin. Buster and the boys was a-sci-filing downtown when they run across old Albert Weatherby. Well, Albert asked the boys where they was a-going, and Howard piped up and said over to Fisher's Cafe. Well, what you going to eat? Asked Albert. Don't rightly know, says Walter, but Buster is a-hankering for something real good. Well, Albert asked Buster if he wanted some she-shy-shickalo-shees or some she-shy-shickalo-chicken. Well, Buster, knowing that Albert was good to funnin', told him he reckoned he was going to get some wings and fried chicken necks to suck on. Well, old Albert just took to cackling over that for sure and slapping Buster on the back. Well, Albert said they ought to head on over to Fisher's and he'd buy if and Jesse could throw his a nickel closer to the line in the sidewalk than he could. Well, the boys took Albert up on his and bet, but Albert said to toss his a nickel first. Deal, said Albert. Well, Albert was known to be right good at tossing nickels or silver dollars or whatever it had, washers or horseshoes, but a bet was a bet. Well, Albert tossed his a nickel and it landed about an inch from the line, and Albert asked the boys if they wanted to pay up now just to grin it. Well, not right yet, says Buster. Give her a toss, says Howard. Well, Jesse's nickel landed a bit back of Albert's and then skipped like a flat rock on the water. That nickel landed on Albert's nickel and then slid just past Albert's nickel, leaning over the side nearest the line. Now, don't that beat all, says Albert. First time I've been beat in quite a spell. Well, boys, you won fair and square, so let's get us some victuals. What you boys a-hankering for? Asked Albert. Steak and all the trimming, says Buster, and an ice cream banana split for dessert. Well, all the boys agreed to that and went to a howling. Albert took to a running, yelling that the last one in the cafe had to buy the RCs. Well, after eating their fill and visiting with Albert for a spell, they lit on out over to Big Mike Young's place to see what he was a-doing. When they got there, Shiner and Tap was a-playing marbles in the yard. Well, Big Mike says he was going to go over to Punkin Unkin's pumpkin patch to see about a pumpkin for his and Ma to make a pumpkin pie for Sunday dinner after church. Well, when all the boys got there by way of Hickey Road, Punkin Unkin was fit to be tied, I tell you. You see, old Punkin Unkin raised giant pumpkins, I guess you call. I was going to say, whatever, biggins. And when he was coming down across the Highline Road with his giant pumpkin for the county fair, he heard a shot and pert near parted his hair, and he didn't have much of that to spare, you know. Seems old man Hickey figured on getting his himself a moose, and Punkin's prize pumpkin had a right smart of a stem sticking out of it when he come on out on the Highline Road. Well, folks, I'm sorry. I'm not a professional, and I get tongue-tied and tickled and thinking about all this stuff. I know these people. I know these places. I was there. You never seen such hair on a cat, I'm telling you. I'm telling you this all based on truth. Now, old man Hickey was near about blind, so he mistook that there stem on Punkin's prize pumpkin for a moose antler. So old man Hickey pulled out his and 500 Smith & Wesson pistol and fired off a round to get his and moose. Of course, there wasn't no moose, but he sure enough blasted Punkin Unkin's prize pumpkin. Wasn't enough of that pumpkin for a pie. Good gosh. Big Mike asking if he had a pumpkin he could get for his and Ma, and Punkin said he sure enough did, and to just pick him out. Oh, Lord, folks. Old man Hickey had a heck of a pumpkin patch, too. Fact is, all you boys get your Ma one, too. The boys all said they appreciated it and went to picking out pumpkins for their ma's. When they was done, the boys all said they wanted to help Punkin load up his and pumpkins for the county fair, seeing as how they was as big as they was. Well, Punkin Unkin up and told the boys he had a pumpkin that just couldn't be beat and was saving it for the state fair, but figured that now was the time to enter it in the contest at the county fair to see how it would match up to the other pumpkins. Trouble was that it was on the backside of Lester Hickey's place, on a little patch of ground that was as rich a ground a body ever did see. It was on a spit of ground jutting out over a little grove that nobody knowed about. Well, Punkin said he sure would appreciate the boys helping him loading that pumpkin on his wagon and getting it back across the high line down by Lester Hickey's place. He was a mite scared of Lester's shooting iron. That 500 pistol Smith & Wesson was quite the pistol. Well, the boys said they'd be glad to help. Buster Jesse could go on over to Lester's place and make sure he wasn't packing that even. Oh, Lord. Oh, when Jesse got over to Lester Hickey's place, he hollered up to the house, and Lester come on out after Jesse telling him who he was. Now, Jesse commenced to telling Lester about what all happened, and Lester sure was put out that he done ruined Punkin's giant pumpkin. He just didn't rightly know he done that. Oh. Sorry, folks. Jesse left on out after Lester said he wasn't going to be shooting out on the Highline Road and would appreciate it if Jesse would tell Punkin he was sorry about it all. Well, all the boys done got their big old pumpkin loaded on Punkin's wagon, but it was sure enough a chore. They had to use a block and tackle and straps to move the darn thing, and it took all of them at that. Them old draft horses pulled the wagon and Punkin, and all of them not even straining at all. It was a mighty fine team. After all was said and done, Punkin got his and giant pumpkin in the county fair contest, and his and Punkin come in second place. Old Punkin was pert near bawling, but he did get a blue ribbon for the prettiest pumpkin, though. Wasn't long after that, Lester Hickey was eating at the Hoodow Cafe when his nephew brung him to town. The boys just happened to drop in for a piece of pie and coffee and milk when in walked Punkin. The boys hollered over to Punkin to join him and Lester heard him say hello to Punkin. So old Lester got up and walked over to Punkin and told him he was right sorry about him shooting his and giant pumpkin. He wanted to make it up to him. Punkin was a man about it all and told Lester just to forget about it. Lester says to Punkin that his and people had a dairy farm when he was a young'un, and that the ground there was rich as all get out, and wondered if Punkin would take him up on planting his and giant pumpkin seeds over there. Punkin says to Lester that he sure enough would take him up on his and offer, and they could give it a whirl. He told Lester that he would have to come on over a lot to tend to the pumpkins, didn't want to be a bother, especially with Lester toting out their hog leg 500 Smith & Wesson. Well, Lester just grinned and told Punkin to come on and just holler out if he didn't see him around the place. Well, Punkin took some of his and giant pumpkin seeds he saved from the pumpkin that Lester shot and planted them at Lester's old dairy barn. When Punkin wasn't around, Lester kept one eye open for any critter or man that would bother that pumpkin. None did. It come on to harvest time, and Punkin come to load up their giant pumpkin of his'n at Lester's. Well, Lester had all of his and kin there to load the pumpkin for Punkin, and they headed straight to the state fairgrounds in Little Rock. Punkin took 3 of his and pumpkins he planted, because he didn't know which one was the heaviest. Well, all the boys was at the fair, and when they heard the weigh-in and judging was begin, they hightailed it on over there. Well, old Punkin was up next when they got there, and them there 3 pumpkins of his'n was a sight to behold, I tell you. Now, the heaviest pumpkin recorded weighs 1,194.49 kilograms, which comes out to English to 2,624.6 pounds, and was growed by a feller named Matthias Williams or something like that from Belgium, and authenticated by the Great Punkin Commonwealth in Ludwigsburg, Germany. It's the Guinness World Record. Well, now, Punkin's first pumpkin weighed in at 2,625.2 pounds, and the crowd just went plumb bonkers and it broke the world record. But that ain't all of it, or the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey says. The second pumpkin of Punkin's Three Pumpkins weighed in at 2,647.1 pounds. Then the third pumpkin of pumpkins weighed in, and it come in at a whopping 2,777.7 pounds. All three of Punkin's pumpkins broke the world record for pumpkins. Now, old Punkin was a grinning to beat the band and a hooping and a hollering and jumping as proud as Punch. The weights was certified, and the Guinness fellers from over in England, now that's not England, come to have their picture took. Well, Punkin told them all to just wait a minute and called up Lester to be with him when the picture was took for the record books. Now, old Lester turned as red as a beet, I tell you, and said he didn't do nothing. But Punkin told the crowd and reporters that ain't nobody ever had three pumpkins beat the world record at one time, and if it wasn't for Lester, he couldn't have done it. Well, everybody was a-cheering when Punkin and Lester just eyeballed each other and asked for all the boys to come up and have their picture took with him and Lester. They said the boys was the reason it all come about. Not only was they good boys and a credit to their families, but to the state. Of course, all the boys' folks seated all, and they was proud as a peacock for the boys. Well, after all was said and done, Lester had a big old party over to his place and told them all that he stayed by his himself, and it was a right lonely for him for most part. He was sure enough glad that he done shot that there pumpkin of pumpkins, because he now had friends that was like family, and they sure enough could come around any time. Well, everybody there said they wouldn't be strangers and welcome Lester any time too at their place. Let's eat, said Lester. We got Punkin Unkin's pumpkin for pumpkin pie. Y'all have a blessed day. Thank you for stopping in. Buster leaving now on out.